in learning a bit more about how young Republicans do
Okay.
in New York, because the right wing, especially the young right wing voters everywhere, are discriminated against. Of course, the leftist sentiments are much stronger in youth,
Hmm.
and well, in Portugal too, we have been discriminated against on the right from colleges and from high schools. How do young Republicans do in New York?
Generally, in the wider world, usually not we're not treated very well. So I'm about to explain something that might be a little confusing. So I am the vice chair of the New York State Young Republicans, but I'm also a board member of the New York City organization, which is called the New York Young Republican Club. So the New York Young Republican Club it encompasses all five boroughs of the New York City, and we are at, I believe, 1,850 members at this point, which is enormous. Enormous, enormous, enormous. We're very proud of that, and it's become essentially the enclave of sanity for young Republicans in New York City. And in that regard, in curating that, we do extremely well because there are so many people who work in fields where they can't talk about their politics, who want somewhere where they can socialize with people and, not even just attend politically themed events, but just on Monday we had a Margarita Monday, and there's nothing
I was
political.
going to say it's sort of a conservatives anonymous, but
No, well, people are it gives them the courage, I've found, to be more open because you have legions behind you. It's not, some Republican clubs are five people in the corner of a bar, only talking to themselves, whereas, our events, we rent out the whole bar and we've got 300 people, and it's all normal people who don't just work in politics but work in the corporate world, work in finance, who work in all different, the medical world, which is very leftist. So they have somewhere to go to, you know, be themselves and speak freely and not have to worry about who's listening and who's going to report them. And it's we've become a bastion. So in that regard, we do extremely well. We have it's the state's biggest chapter. Our New York City chapter is the state's biggest chapter. So we're, very, very impressive stuff. Um, and I think that we are, in a way, changing culture and sort of making that inch towards making conservatism appeal in a wider way. Because I'd say that the people that come to our events are not far right necessarily. Some of them are more centrist. Some of them, they fall on all different ends of the spectrum, more libertarian, more populist, what have you. So
I was
everybody's.
going to say I would love to hear about the libertarian Portuguese in New York. I mean, that must be a fascinating
I'm
subgroup.
sure there's more of them. I mean, listen, I think that our Portuguese here, they like their guns, and I'm sure there's a lot more of them than would be bothered to take a political survey, which is why I kind of take that survey that I read with a grain of salt, because my dad is a very, I take him as my example. He's a very mainstream Republican Portuguese immigrant, and I can't imagine him ever clicking on a survey to give his political opinions. It's just not something that he would do, and I don't know, as a community, if that was is something that most of us would bother doing unless we were already politically involved. So it's just funny.
Where do you find it that it's hardest to reach, to conduct outreach, rather, in universities or in high schools? Any particular boroughs?
I mean, Manhattan's always the hardest. I know some college Republican chairs who were the college Republican organizations like in NYU have had a lot of difficulty, but the fact that they even exist is incredible. So, but it's always hard to do outreach there because it's not just resistance from your fellow students, but it's resistance often from the administration as well. And when you're a student and, besides the fact that you're running this organization, you're also trying to pass your classes and get your degree, at a certain point you have to step back. So that's definitely where it's more difficult, which is why I would want to try to facilitate tabling at different colleges, because I'm out of college. They can't take my degree. Who's going to take my degree? So I'm willing to go and do the work that maybe these kids aren't able to do now that I'm out of college a few years. So, it's all just a matter of being allowed to speak, and that's the biggest hurdle.
Okay, Vash, do you have any final questions?
I have two final questions, and I promise that there are the two final questions, not to take more your time.
No worries. I'm
Becky.
enjoying this. I could go all day.
How your experience in political communication has shaped your approach as a design chairwoman at the New York Young Republican Club? This is the first one, and the second is what were the main motivations that led you to accept the position of design chairwoman, and the vision did you intend to bring to this role?
So the second question has a bit of a funny answer, but I'll start with the first. So I did study communications in college. If I had not been put on a political path during COVID, I probably would have ended up slaving away in some publishing house, being absolutely miserable. And you know, I thank God every day that I have the opportunities that I have. Um, so they kind of go hand in hand. I started doing communications on campaigns first, and then in 2023, I got my first government job in the New York State Senate as a communications director, and so I was in charge of social media strategy. I was in charge of obviously posting, writing. I would write op-eds. I did her press. I did all kinds of stuff like that. And then a year later, I moved on, and now I work in the New York City Council for Councilwoman Ina Vernikov, who I love working for. She's awesome, and she lets me have lots of fun. So I enjoy that. But um, for design, actually, it's funny that you ask about that. So I do it a lot in my jobs, and it is one of those rare things in politics, one of those rare jobs um, where you can be creative, and I've had a lot of fun with, especially doing it for the New York Young Republican Club, because we are very bombastic and unashamed in our messaging. If you look at our Twitter, so just so you know, as design chairwoman, I'm in charge of every graphic design output that you see. So if I didn't do it myself, my team did it. But anything that is graphically designed on any of the social media pages or anything printed, anything, that all comes out of me and my team. So, we do very fiery statements often, and I am the one who makes the titles for the statements, which is often a very fun job because we put out some very inflammatory statements sometimes. But being able to contribute artistically to the movement, and to sort of have because so much of how we understand things today is visual. We're scrolling through social media, and if something doesn't catch our eye, we're not looking at it. And you need to have that visual component in order for a message to resonate. So my job in that aspect in the Young Republican Club is to curate the visual aspect of things, which I find very exciting. So I think that for the longest time, the left had the monopoly on uh, the visual and the artistic
Art
side
and
of things.
culture, yes.
So I think now the right is starting to reclaim that, and I'm very happy to be part of that, because I always thought that the right needed more of an artistic touch, because we tended to focus only on the facts and the logic and the reason, but nobody wants to listen to facts and logic and reason if you don't present it in a way that resonates. So
I'm curious. Now that you mentioned the design, well, that Vashka mentioned the design. How old is the Young Republicans Club logo? It looks old. I don't know how old it actually is.
the current one,
Yeah.
um, I think we rebranded. It's been through a couple of iterations. They definitely did this current logo before I started in the club. I think around 2020. I could be wrong, but I think around 2020. Um, but I mean, the club itself
But it's
is
made to look old.
yes, it's made to be look very classic and very very
Aesthetics.
serious. Yes, a nice aesthetic, and um, it's a very we're a club that takes ourselves very seriously, and I think the logo translates that. And what we do is we do very serious stuff. We're not just a social club, but we're also very politically engaged, and we're movers and shakers both in front and behind the scenes. So you need something visually that translates that.
Okay. I think that's all the questions for now. We won't take more of your time. I just want to also appreciate the little touch of the Vienna earrings that you
Oh,
presented us with.
thank you.
We
I'm glad you
appreciate it.
noticed.
Yes, yes. And this does not preclude any future interviews. So for now, thank you very much. We will be in touch. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
having
very
me.
much, Becky, to taking your time to talk with us today.
Absolutely. I'm so happy.